got going for tonight. I just ran and got fuel for generator, which means one thing. We're going to need a generator at the racetrack. So we're going to take that old girl to the track tomorrow night. Got a couple things I want to get done before though. It's pretty much ready to go, except I'm finally going to put spark plugs in it, and I'm going to adjust the rear suspension just a touch, and then we're going to get it on the ground. I'm going to go out in the driveway and I'm going to do a burnout, and then I'm going to do a hole shot, and that's just going to give me a ballpark on how it's going to act. I want to make sure it'll do a clean burnout. It's not trying to foul plugs, do anything crazy. And then I'm going to do a hole shot and make sure it will go up on the two-step and come off the two-step clean. And then after that, if it manages to leave the line, we're just going to run it out a couple 100 feet, 300 feet maybe, and then just ride it out, and then get a data log and start making adjustments to the main fuel map and see where we need to be. I've been playing around with the two-step on the thing, and I got it working pretty good. I'll show you some of my settings or what I've been kind of doing with that as far as using a timing table to get onto the two-step and then make boost. I think it works pretty slick as opposed to just doing a set timing and set fuel as soon as it sees that the two-step is active, which can kind of create some funny things if you're not getting ready to launch the bike. Like if you're coasting around in the pits, return road, whatever, you clutch it, it goes to your two-step timing like instantly, and that can be negative timing possibly, and it'll make it kind of run a little finicky if you're just putting through the pits and coming back on the return road. I did make a few tools in my spare time here. Well, the bike's been kind of ready to go, but you get an hour here or there. I was just putzing around and made a few things. I'll show you that. And right now I have batteries charging back there. I got my air compressor for the swing arm for my boost control and shifter. And yeah, once those two batteries are done charging, I'll have 4 batteries set for tomorrow, which is more than enough to get through an entire event. I can do an entire event on 2 batteries. So the other 2 are basically just backups. Yeah, I'm going to double check tire pressure, and then we'll scuff the thing in out in the driveway. So for now, I need to get some spark plugs changed and then make a little suspension adjustment. First things first. Ooh. I said I made a couple tools. That was one of them. I finally made a clutch hub tool for the busa motor. I never had one made for that bike, and it was a pain in the ass because I was always working on this bike. So I had one for the 1000. Now that I got my own busa motor, I had to make one for that. So something I've been wanting to do. The other thing is for a Gen 2 clutch, for MTC Gen 2 clutch, they give you these bolts to put in for spring retainers for your static spring. So when you take the hat off, everything stays in place. Well, if you put it back together and you leave them screws in, those bolts, which can happen, the clutch doesn't work. So what I did was take some coupling nuts. They're 1/4 20. They're like, not quite 2 inches long. Painted them orange, put some grip tape on there. Now I can thread these in by hand, and I don't need a wrench or nothing to spin the Allen head. So I can just thread them in by hand, and I physically cannot put the clutch cover back on if those are in, and they're super visible now. So I got 6 of them made up, just take them together. Pretty slick. Clutch tuning kit. I got to find a better container for the clutch stuff. I can just keep everything together. But for now, just something I've been wanting to do. I find random things to keep myself busy. So I got the spark plugs done. Didn't go too bad. So new plugs. I reset the ride height in the back. Changed up the preload on the spring a little bit. And I think we're good to go kind of in general with this setup. What I'm going to do now is a couple 2-step tests. I really only want to make for tomorrow night. I really only want to make like 5 pounds of boost on the 2-step. And I've already figured out how to make 0. And then I got it to make 10. so I'm kind of working my way towards my goal of making 5 pounds on the 2-step. And I'll kind of show you how I'm playing around with doing that without really screwing up how the bike rides when I'm not going on the 2-step, but yet a 2-step is active because I got the clutch pulled in. So there's a timing table for the 2-step. I'll show you what I'm doing. All I'm planning on doing right now is just I'm going to fire it up cold. I'm going to let it build some heat. We can kind of check the cold start on it and see how that works. I like to try to fire it up before the O2 is active because then that shows you kind of how close the main base map is. without the O2 trying to correct a bunch and just making it right. So I'll fire the bike up, or I'll turn the bike on, I'll let it prime, wait a second, and I'll fire it up. And then once the O2 comes on, I'll let it build some heat. I'll watch to see what the corrections are at idle, if it's adding or pulling fuel at idle to maintain my target. And then once there's a little bit of heat in the bike, I'll do a 2-step test. I just changed my setting on there. It was at -3 degrees. I changed it to -2. So it's only pull the 2 degrees of timing now when it's on the 2-step. And it was adding, I don't know what the heck I had here. It was adding 4% fuel. I changed it to only add 3%. So what I'm doing by adding the timing and adding more timing and taking away the amount of fuel in the 2-step is I'm just trying to take away how much energy is getting into the turbo. That's how I'm controlling how much boost it's going to make. And once I have that figured out, that's like the bare minimum I'll use is probably 5 pounds. After that, I can save that map. After that, I can build up other ones where I can leave on 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, you know, whatever the track will hold. But for tomorrow night, I just want to be able to target 5 pounds or so, and then we'll call it good. And I think I'm good on my compressed air for the boost controller. So I'm just going to fire it up. Working more like an air temp, but it's a good reference to have. So once I see about 130 on there, that's about where I would stage the bike. Once I see 130, I'll do a quick 2-step test, let it idle out, and then shut it off. I want to see the oil temp come up a little bit too. So you probably can't hear me real good, but it stinks in here real bad. So what I'm going to do now is download that data log and see what we got. Alright, so the first test that you just saw, it still made like 6.5, almost 7 pounds after I'd changed a few things. It just didn't seem happy with the direction I was going, so I reset and I just dropped my launch RPM a little bit, and I changed one other thing. Go over here. So bear with me. This is me fucking around trying to figure out how things work. So I went back to 5% fuel enrichment, so I added 5%, and I went to 6250 for the 2-step setting, and it gave me what I wanted, and it was actually kind of smooth. Right there, came up to 6253. It's made 6 pounds, but that's at one of them little peaks. It's overall, oops, get over into the, here we go. Overall, it was like 5.6, 5.3. So five and a half is where I want it to be. The peaks I'm not too worried about. I'm not 100% sure on if I could actually get that to be perfectly smooth. So there's always going to be fluctuations and things because that wastegate's open and closing, open and closing. But I'm pretty happy with that. If I get the bike to leave about anywhere less than 6, more than 5, I'm happy with that. So for now, I'll just use this as my baseline. I can dial that in as we get more data. And I'm going to go do a burnout in the driveway now. I think that's enough for tonight. So hopefully didn't irritate the neighbors too much, but it started to get later as I was kind of working on stuff in here. I'm like, I really need to get outside and do this like little burnout and hole shot test before it's like late. Like I said before, like the neighbors are a good bit of distance away, but the bike is loud. You're gonna hear it no matter what. But yeah, I mean, the burnout was just something just real quick. I wanted to make sure the burnout mode worked. And once it went up on the rev limiter during the burnout, set at 7,000 right now. I might have to up that a little bit depending on, we kind of got to figure out what the clutch is going to want to do. But yeah, I mean, it goes on to 2-step at 5,500 for burnout mode. 2-step is 5,500. You throw the lever, it goes to a 7,000 RPM limit. And it went up, it was clean, it sounded good, it felt strong, like it felt smooth. Unfortunately, I'm out of practice. I forgot to data log the burnout, but I did data log my little hole shot by launch, and it did everything it does on the 2-step in here. I threw the lever and it knocked the tire off instantly, which is okay. I just didn't want it to be on that loose asphalt driveway and then actually have it like spin the clutch, I guess. So the fact that it spun the tire, it's a good start. So we're leaving. It was like 5.5 pounds of boost. That'll be fine. So tomorrow we're gonna get after it and try to get 2, maybe 3 passes if everything goes well. But I'm not forcing the issue on this. I just need data. I've been off the bike for a year. I got to get back into swing of getting data and making the tweaks and going through stuff and just making sure this bike stays healthy, because it's been too long since I've been racing and I miss doing it, and I don't want to just overlook something and get all excited that it runs and go out there and fuck something up and just be done for the year again. So wish me luck. Tomorrow's it's gonna be a fun day, I think.